I forgot to record. God damn it.
It's okay.
Should we just keep it running?
Yes, retroactively fix later.
Yeah, retroactive fix later. Okay. All right, we could do that. All right. Hello again. I'm a little bit off today. I think we're off. All right. Anyways, how's everybody doing? We're doing good. Yeah. It's been a while since we recorded.
Yeah.
Before we get into the meat and bones of the podcast today, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. For the anime podcast itself, I think we've kind of got a name. But it's specifically because we've been doing videos in My Hero Academia, and then moving forward, and I think this anime podcast will probably, like, once we start doing other, like, different series, we'll probably have a different name and stuff like that. I think moving forward, we're just going to do that. And I think maybe a cool name for this show is probably going to be After School at UA.
UA After Hours.
UA After Hours. So, well, we'll try to figure it out. It's going to be more focused on My Hero Academia, and then if we do a different series, it's going to be focused on that series, and we'll probably have a name that coincides with that series. But other than that, we're just going to go ahead and start on this episode. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hello.
As
So-
I'm eating my McFlurry.
Yeah, as you're eating your McFlurry.
I mean, ice cream.
Ice cream. No product placement.
Censor it out.
Censor it out. I wonder if I could do that on iMovie. Anyways, so we're talking about the beginning of a new arc. So last time we were here, we were talking. I mumbled my way through describing the finale of the UA Sports Festival, and towards the end of that festival arc, we got introduced to a new main villain, I guess.
Yes.
In this series, or at least in this season. Yeah. And the hero killer Stain now is becoming forefront in this situation. And then these two episodes is like kind of like priming us on the issues that they're gonna have with this character. So the first episode in this arc is called Time to Pick Names. And so three main things that I took away from this is Deku and Ochako is really worried about Tenya Ida's kind of like, dealing with his personal family issues, dealing with the fact that his brother got injured through the Hero Killer Stain situation. Another part is that the class of 1A is choosing hero names. And that's probably the comedic relief of this kind of episode. And then the students have a choice to shadow a pro-hero agency of their choice. And those agencies are based on the heroes seeing their performance during the sports festival. So there's a lot of people that get like recommendations or something. Like basically they get offers.
I think it was when they were partaking in the sports festival, because they were kind of doing it in front of all of these actual heroes.
Yeah.
They kind of can see what these students are doing, and so that whole sports arc is basically your resume.
Yeah. And so some main points about this episode is it starts out, I think it's a cold open, 2 days after the festival. Deku takes a train and he gets recognized like almost immediately. And everybody's like, oh, like, he was really awesome, like fighting with Todoroki and like all this stuff. And he reaches the UA campus and Tenya's behind him. And he seems very his normal self. And Deku kind of still like remembers what had happened to Tenya's family and kind of has that in his back of his mind. And when Deku meets him in like the locker area or the area where you kind of like put your shoes away or something. Deku tries to ask him like, hey, is everything okay? Tenya's basically saying, everything's fine. You don't need to worry. I'm just your normal self and stuff like that. Which obviously, if you don't know anything about high school dramas, probably not the best thing to it's like you're internally like screaming situation. Yeah. But that seems to kind of like keep Deku at ease. And then the scene continues, and we start figuring out that the next thing that the students are going to be doing is picking their names. And Aizawa kind of like tells them like, hey, this thing is we're gonna do this thing called Hero Informatics or something, and it sounds like some official like quiz or something. And all the kids were like, we haven't done anything for the past 2 days. How are we gonna do a quiz? But it turns out it's just like a story, not a story thing. A choosing hero names. And he mentions that this is part of their hero draft picks. That, as we mentioned before, the students are getting offered to shadow like different heroes. And Todoroki gets the top three is Todoroki, Bakugo, and Tokoyami. And Todoroki gets 4,123. Bakugo gets 3,556, and then Tokoyami gets 360, and then Deku is all the way at the bottom with 0. There is also other characters that don't have like offers, but it's basically those are the top three. And then Aizawa tells them, yeah, they're gonna do their names, and then that he's not gonna be proctoring that situation. It's gonna be Midnight, and Midnight always walks in a very suggestive way all the time. But we get a little bit of backstory. We find out that Aizawa's name, Eraserhead, wasn't the one that chose it. He was just kind of like, I'm not really good with names. And it's like a flashback, and the phrase Eraserhead was from the character Present Mike that gave it to him. We continue. There's as like a whole montage of characters picking names. So some things that come out in front of me wasn't a spoiler, but you told me that Asui, or the Froppy's name, you told me that was going to be her name from like the first season. Yeah, but that's an awesome name. Mina Ashido, the one that does the her acid attack.
Yep.
She was going to be Alien Queen, but now it's Pinky. I like how they name drop a James Cameron movie in this. They were like, maybe not call yourself after a movie movie character. Shuei, the one with the arms, tentacle hero, which of course it's not what you're thinking, right? It's never what you're thinking.
I mean, they don't look like tentacles.
Yeah, they don't look like tentacles. It looks like bat wings, to be honest.
They kind of do, yeah.
They more like look like reptilian like bat wings.
I mean, if anything, it's like wings with extra limbs that he could use to do things.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about let's not go. Let's see. Characters. Bakugo seems to really, really like very violent names. King Explosion Murder. Lord Explosion Murder.
Imagine he named himself Red Rum.
Red Rum. Yarozu is Everything Hero Creati. Mineta the pervert is... I'm just kidding.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Is the fresh picked hero Grape Juice. Sure, why not? Let's go with that.
I mean, it makes sense for his character.
Uraraka, like the three mains. Uraraka is Uravity. Ida has an issue. He had permission to use Ingenium, but he just insists on using his own name. And there's kind of like a push-pull, kind of like thing that like internal that he has to deal with before I guess he could take up that name. Even though his brother is like, you could just take it, you know? Midoriya does Deku, as we kept on talking about throughout this whole series. There's a lot of meaning behind that because Deku is like it's like Japanese wordplay, right? Like Deku has a specific meaning, something about being useless or something.
I think it's supposed to be an insult.
It's supposed to be an insult, and then throughout the series, he just learns to just kind of like, this is gonna be something that like, I'm gonna take the insult away from this word.
He's like reclaiming it for himself.
Yeah. And then some other stuff. I think there's the Sugar Man. Yeah. What's the Sugar Man? Sato.
He's the one that like has to drink the sewer.
Get the sugar rush. Yeah. So those are kind of like the names that kind of pop up as interesting. Kaminari, the one He's the electric one, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He has Charge Bolt, but before that had like another name that Earphone Jack. I,
Earphone Jack.
she gave him like a name, but it was supposed to be an insult. Yeah. And so, moving on from that, Cementos gets word of an offer for Deku. All Might sees it. Um, Aizawa wakes up to give the students one last minute advice. Midnight suggests that they should choose heroes that best interest them for the hero internship. Aizawa then dismisses the class, and the students kind of gather and talk. You know how like during lunch, it's like some people leave, some people kind of stick around. Mineta chooses Mount Lady, and like I think, trying to remember what Froppy was the one that says like, "Are you thinking about something that's perverted right now?" Ochako chooses the Gunhead Agency and she says that it's to build perspective and strength. So that's kind of interesting to that. Also, there's something about her doing that because I've also been watching the third season. It pays off, like her kind of training and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Bakugo is just annoyed by everybody talking. Normal Bakugo things. After school, Deku agrees to walk home with Ochako. They notice that Tenya left early. As they leave, All Might asks Deku to have like a quick chat, like alone. All Might informs Deku that his old homeroom teacher is planning to have Deku as a student. Aizawa notices that Tenya has chose a lower class offer at a Hosu city. Aizawa is suspicious of his decision. We open up the next scene, day 1 internship. Aizawa informs the students of the costume policy and sees the students off on their internship. Before leaving, Deku and Ochako approaches Tenya to reassure him that he can talk to them and kind of like, hey, we're friends. Tenya reaffirms that everything's okay and his friendship is solid, but as he moves away towards the train, he has kind of like a vengeful glare. And Deku arrives home to Gran Torino's home. That's the name of the character, and finds him seemingly dead. But in Deku's panic, he wakes up and gives him a greeting. End scene. So this episode just kind of this setting up just kind of major parts of the naming these characters like as like a code name situation. Kind of the aftermath of what Tenya's dealing with, and getting introduced with a new character, which is this Gran Torino character, which is really kind of a funny way to introduce your character as like this old man that's like dead. But I really did enjoy this episode. I think the one of the things that I really liked is just they're having like references to like actual real world like properties like Alien and stuff like that. And there's always a gem of my film geek in me that's always like, oh, that's a movie reference. I know that reference. And yeah, and I think it kind of builds on the friendship of our three kind of like main characters. I know this series has so many different characters that you could identify. It's almost like on a Game of Thrones level where there's so many characters. There's not that one character you kind of like key on.
Yeah.
But kind of like our main three, which is Midoriya, Tenya, and Ochako, and how their relationship is kind of like going, and like how strong it is, and how they're trying to be supportive to a friend that's like in need right now. Yeah. So what did you thought about this episode, at least from your recollection?
Well, first and foremost, I think the route that they took with Ida is getting kind of interesting, because from the way that they introduce him in the show, he seems like a very what's the proper word for it? Like,
he's like straight-laced in the sense that he's very rules-oriented.
Yeah. You always see him as this kind of like character that couldn't be wrong. Or couldn't do wrong, sorry.
Yeah.
But I think with this arc and seeing as how he's starting to act, you kind of get the feeling that they're about to subvert that image with him.
Yeah.
And then with that group of three you were mentioning, right? Like Ochako, Deku, and Ida.
Right.
Like, I think you see a lot of character progressions between the three of them in different ways.
Right.
Like Ochako and Deku are both kind of furthering themselves by, you know, using their internship, and they're kind of like Ochako's doing the thing where she's trying to get somebody that you wouldn't expect her to be getting
Yeah.
to further her experience as a hero, and then Deku is just kind of Deku somewhere.
Yeah, Deku's just kind of like, oh, this is your only offer, so you're gonna go here now.
I mean, he's the main character, so he's just
So,
kind of like
yeah.
walking through life, and he's like, all right, oh, whoops, I fell into, oh, look, it's an internship.
But in terms of Ida, I do like how there, like you said earlier, yeah, it's that subverting that expectations. Like he is the bookworm kind of Hermione character almost.
He's
where-
literally
yeah.
the one character you would never expect to do anything bad.
Yeah, and what's happening right now is that he has like this internal conflict where he wants to get back at the person that hurt him, not only just him, but kind of his family. You know, so I think there's more depth in that sense with that character, and then we'll start to learn more about each character's background, and I feel like there's different motivations I feel each character has, and I think within this arc we're going to learn a lot about that. Like why Ochako chose kind of like the Gunhead Agency, when my initial idea was like, that's kind of like a weird choice, you know. But by the end of this kind of arc, I kind of realized, okay, they're all kind of thinking in a way that it's gonna further themselves on like a hero kind of like path. So
And honestly, if you compare that to like real life with, you know, students applying for jobs after
Yeah,
school
that's
and
fair.
stuff, it's very similar in that you kind of like our mentality of obviously is not going to be like superheroes.
Yeah,
like
of
we're
course.
not going to be like, we're going to get more superpowers so we can be strong people and save them. You know, it's not like that, but it's more like we get the more normal version of that where it's like we want to further our careers by getting
like
interviews.
like focusing on like a specific focus or aspect of
Yeah.
an industry or something like that.
So I think like the situation is very relatable for like high school students, college students. Like,
Which is very interesting too, because it's like when I'm doing a lot of the work with students in high school, it's like, oh, they're going through those same things. It's like, okay, yeah, that's it makes me remember. It's like, oh yeah, even though that these characters are dealing with stuff like getting killed and like becoming heroes, right? They're all still kind of like kids. Yeah, later. They're all still like kids at
Yeah.
heart, you know. They're still going through like school and all of these things, yeah. And it's just these crazy circumstances that they're like bought into, yeah.
and the world is pretty different compared to ours, I would like to at least say. At least like the way that their lives are considered to be normal would be something to us that would be like extraordinary. But a lot of the plights that they go through are things that most people who watch this show can relate to.
Yeah.
Like they're not so far out of imagination that you'd be like, I don't get that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like living on a different world essentially.
Yeah.
Anyways, without further ado, before this runs out, let's talk about the next episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the next episode is called Bizarre Gran Torino Appears. So kind of the three main things that we get from this is Deku is getting situated with Gran Torino, where we get to learn a little bit about him as a character. Others get to know the respected hero. So we got a lot of montages, this kind of portion of this kind of series, which I feel like a lot of anime that has like this kind of like hero arc or like Naruto or something like this. And I'm not well versed in anime, but I feel like everybody's been comparing this series with Naruto. It's probably because Naruto ended, and then when My Hero Academia started, it's like filling the void or something. But like in the sense that these characters are like trying to train and stuff.
I think if anything, like this anime is usually compared to being like to the top 3.
Yeah.
Which would be like, don't count me on this. I usually hear it's Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece.
One Piece. Oh, okay.
Like those are the main 3 that most people know of. Dragon Ball Z is somewhere up there.
Somewhere, yeah.
Top 4. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. It's like very stereotypically what you would see in a shonen anime.
Shonen, yeah, the shonen genre of anime. And the legend, well, not the legend. Sorry.
Legend of Zelda.
Yes, the Legend of Zelda. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's not get a copyright strike. The the legend, not the legend, the League of Villains.
Legend of Korra.
The legend. No,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
that's not anime. Just kidding. I'm sitting on my iron throne. That's not anime.
That's close enough.
The League of Villains. Once I mumbled.
Legend of Villains.
All right. Tried to recruit hero killer Stain, and they're kind of dealing with that sort of situation. The bizarre Gran Torino. So coming off on the main points, Gran Torino, he was playing dead in out of a breakfast mishap. He's not all there as a character. He's like Deku introduces him, but it's like, oh, so wait, well, what's going on? What's your name? Or something. But as Deku tries to call All Might about Gran Torino, he noticed that he is rummaging through his costume, and then Gran Torino's tone changed. Like there's a tone shift, and he asked Deku to try to hit him with a one for all smash, and then Deku tries to excuse himself because he has this notion like, you're just like an old dude, but Gran Torino all of a sudden just starts jumping in the room like really fast, and also destroying his like microwave.
Poor microwave.
Yeah, rip microwave.
What year did that come out? Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, microwave.
2017 to 2017.
2017, yeah. Whatever, May something. Yeah. Gran Torino uses Deku notices that his jumps jumps in personality kind of reminds him of All Might, and this in his mind kind of confirms that Gran Torino is his mentor, which is kind of funny. Gran Torino continues his jump around as Deku is contemplating and analyzing his options, and this is one of the reason that Gran Torino is like saying like, hey, listen, like you have this power, but you tend to slow yourself down by always constantly thinking about your situation. Yep. And it kind of gives Deku kind of like pause for thought, sort of situation. And then we started kind of like our montage that I mentioned before. Tenya is at Hosu City. While in the city, Tenya chooses to internship at a normal hero's manual office, right? While there, Tenya's thinking about the hero killer Stain and hopes to find him in the city, which is still kind of like not the best kind of motivation for Ida as a character. Also, Ida's like my favorite character, and when I watched this while at the gym, there was probably some moments where people was like, God damn it, you're thinking like an idiot.
I was waiting for this.
Yeah. He's just like, you're better than this. Why are you doing this? Why are you going to do this? Don't do this. And then I realized, I guess you're a high school character. So it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But still, why are you doing this?
I think it's also for Ida, like at this point, it's his role model being pushed to the brink.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of stuck in a corner now because he basically just lost his role model.
That's
his
fair.
family is kind of torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if you're that young, I feel like also just people have a tendency to over exaggerate the situations that they're in, and I'm pretty sure he's at
well, we all sort of been there, right?
Yeah. I think he's at the point of probably like just being like, it's the end of the world. What do I have left except for getting vengeance for the person who I care about the most?
Yeah.
And
I guarantee you, like, minus the situation, yeah, like there's a valid, I guess, to a degree, a valid situation that Tenya is going through. But to be fair, we've all been very tragic when we were younger.
Yeah, we're all very.
Yeah, we're all very tragic when we were younger. Please admit it. Hero Killer and others. I wrote this on my note. Hero Killer make friends.
Hello, girl, make friend.
Stain meets with Tamura and Kurogiri. When Stain questions Tamura's motivation, he is displeased by his answer. So Tamura answers that he just wants to destroy anything that he just doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of this kind of response, Stain gets like very angry, Kurigura asks to steps in, but the boss that's listening in the background says that Tamura has to like learn a lesson, and then we like cut away from the scene. Meanwhile, back at Gran Torino, Deku kind of mulls over what Gran Torino says, that basically his admiration, which I forgot to mention, his admiration for All Might is kind of like slowing him down, and realizes that One for All should be. He made this kind of conclusion that the One for All kind of quirk needs to like be an extension of himself. He talks about this in terms of like how Bakugo uses his quirk to kind of like move around in spaces, and how Froppy, like the same in the same case, is like how Froppy uses her kind of like tongue. I almost said tongue fetish. Her tongue quirk. Sorry.
Is there something you're not telling us?
Nothing. Don't worry about it. Her tongue quirk. I wish I had like a Men in Black thing. You did not hear that.
Yeah.
Her.
Flash.
Exactly. Her tongue quirk, like she can move through spaces like more efficiently through that. So Deku's just kind of like reanalyzing how he like does his quirk, and then Gran Torino, the creepy is just kidding, kind of eavesdrops from the outside and has a sense that Deku is like, he is kind of like a worthy kind of like holder of One for All, and it's just like, okay, All Might, you did chose like kind of like the right person to pass on this quirk to. Bakugo goes to Tokyo, which is one of my funniest segments in this one. He goes to the Blue Genus. Best Genus
Best
Agent
Genus.
Best Genus admits that he isn't fond of Bakugo's attitude, but hopes to kind of like change his attitude throughout this course, with varying results. Let's just say that. Ijiro and Tetsu joins the Fourth Kind agency, which is he's also known as the chivalrous hero, probably to learn better manners. Uraraka and the Gunhead agency, she's just basically seen training on a physical level. You get some words from Gunhead, but you just get an idea that she may be regretting it, but just kind of like going with the flow because it's just the first day. Yeah. Snakehead hero Uwabami, which is Yarurozo and Kendo joins the Snakehead agency, and they announce that they're in for a PR orientation training. Yeah, so she's just basically a PR person.
She's like the epitome of like a celebrity.
Yeah, the celebrity hero.
Like if you were to Google Urban Dictionary or Google celebrity in Urban Dictionary, her photo would be on
Probably,
there.
yeah. Mineta's expectation versus reality.
I forgot what happened with Mineta.
Mineta joins the Mount Lady agency, and it's not what he's expecting.
Oh.
He's just he's in the French maid outfit and he's doing the cleanup. Endeavor's happy time fun time, happy fun times. Shoto basically joins his dad's agency.
Yeah, to admit that's a lot of character development for him to be able to kind of like
to get there. And meanwhile with Deku, transitions tonight. Deku tries to kind of like train himself. He's like between two buildings, scares a couple. By the next morning, Deku finds Gran Torino and is questioned on his appearance, have bags on his eyes, and just looks really tired. Knackered, as they would say in Australia. Gran Torino told Deku that he's been training, his training is difficult from All Might's, or different, sorry. It looks like difficult. I need my glasses. All Might had only combat training because he already had a form of mastery of the One for All quirk. Gran Torino has a new microwave, lo and behold, from the beginning. Destroyed his own microwave, replacing the one he broke from the day before. Deku attempts to cook breakfast pastries, which is like those red bean things, which also freaking good. They're awesome. But manages to mess it up by overloading the microwave and for it to like not rotate. Apparently Deku just has like an old fashioned microwave where it just doesn't rotate.
yeah.
Yeah. because of this, he didn't let the food kind of cook evenly. He comes up with this conclusion that he must apply his quirk's power as in like an equal kind of like distribution. And from there, he's like starting up the one for all quirk, and that's like all of like these stripes are going across his body and everything. Which, by the way, I think in this episode is like a new intro and a new song, and you kind of get this idea like he gets like an X across his face and everything,
Yeah.
which is really awesome design, by the way. And he gets sorry. Gran Torino just asks, "Is like, are you ready to spar?" And end of episode.
And then it ends and it's over.
Okay, sorry. So what do you think about this episode? I think just my impressions is I think I like Gran Torino as a character. I like how he's voiced. So I watched this both on dubbed and subbed, which also is another name for this anime podcast, dubbed and subbed.
Dubbed and subbed.
Yeah. Maybe we should just go with that name one day.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I like Gran Torino's voice actor in the American one. Really does sound like what I imagined the character if it was done in English. Gran Torino's character himself is just really funny.
Yeah.
I really like his character. Something else. He's still being motivated by revenge, which is really kind of off-putting as someone that's a fan of Tenya's. And I'm just kind of like, God damn it, don't do it.
Don't do
You're better than this. Bakugo is of course normal Bakugo. Yeah.
Just angry.
Just angry all the time. I also want to learn more about the snake hero. What she does, because I think throughout this whole thing she just is a PR person.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I think each hero kind of like has like a different aspect of a hero, but also at the same point has like a different specialty. And I feel like Snakehead hero could also be like, oh, you'll learn how to be a PR person for other heroes, which is really not that bad of a thing to learn. But it's not probably, if you're a hero in training, it's probably not the best thing to get.
It's definitely a different image of heroes that you would expect. Like I think it's very similar to like the Marvel image of heroes sometimes.
Yeah.
More in the sense that like, you know how in recent films like they've done the thing where like Thor will come up, or like kids will come up to Thor and like Infinity. No, is it Infinity?
No, it was the kids come out.
No, it was in Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, yeah.
And they came up and they're like, "Hey, Thor, can I take a selfie with you?"
Yeah, and I was like, "I'm sorry, Jane dumped you." It's like, no, it was a mutual dumping.
But yeah, I think the heroes in My Hero Academia are very much like celebrity people.
Which, as like the last episode, kind of like a lot of the kids in the 1A classroom, they're like, oh, everybody recognized me from like from the sports festival event. And they're all kind of like dealing with that.
Their purposes for being a hero are very different too. You can clearly see that when they were talking to the 1A characters and they were like, "What's your purpose for being a hero?" I just want money.
Yeah.
And then like some of them are very ingrained in like the traditional sense of what a hero should be, and others are very I wouldn't say superficial. I would say they're more kind of like monetary gain, popularity,
stuff like that.
You know, which isn't bad, but it's also kind of like a not what you normally would see heroes say that's the reason why they want to be a hero.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, sorry. One last thing. Froppy. I wrote this as in the Navy now. She joins a kind of hero group that looks like a Navy ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of ends kind of our discussion a little bit. So we just talked about the episode in depth. Moving on, I want to see how Ida is gonna deal with being in Hosu City, and you know his kind of like revenge kind of like situation. You
Definitely.
know, yeah. And then I want to see how Deku kind of like fares at a sparring match now. But he's still that kind of quote where he's like, "Oh, your attachment to All Might kind of like weighs you down." So I want to see how that kind of fits into the picture.
It would definitely be cool to see him redefine All for One as his own power, because you have to admit he does idolize All Might like a lot. So being able to reinterpret that power as his own thing will be a very interesting development.
Like
in
a
the
test for him as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being like, oh, that's what All Might did. Maybe I should just do that too.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so that's our impressions of this episode. I hope you like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully when you see us, we'll have a different name for this podcast.
Hopefully.
Probably.
It'll probably be different.
And until then, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Late night.
And then it's time to go home.
Imagine we get to do this more.
Oh, God. Okay, maybe in the summer, but not right now.
It would be awesome. John Wick is coming after... Wait, is that next week?
I haven't even watched John Wick 2.
Why not?